To Capture the Sun by Abraham Freeman. August 19th, 2024. Every time I slid into the driver's seat, I would feel butterflies fluttering around in my stomach. Is it going to start this time? This thought would run through my mind, and sometimes I would say it out loud to my fiancée. I inserted the key into the car's ignition and turned it. It all seems run-of-the-mill, but when I started having car trouble a couple of weeks before, I realized how I took for granted the ability to do this seemingly simple task. Thankfully, this time, it started. I double-checked that I had my mirrorless camera. I did. I put the car in reverse, pulled out of the parking space, and switched it into drive. Thus, we began the drive to go and capture the sun. It was another beautiful sun-filled day. I say another, but I didn't take it for granted. Washington State in the summer is full of these days, though in the winter the sun takes on a reclusive nature by hiding behind the clouds. Today, we were getting out to soak up the rays and to visit a sunflower field. I had been to Christmas trees, farms, pumpkin patches, apple orchards, and tulip fields, though never a sunflower field. The latter had holidays attached to them, such as Christmas trees for Christmas, pumpkins for Halloween, apples for Thanksgiving, and tulips during Easter. However, summer had always been empty of holidays that provided farm visits. In recent years, my fiancé and I had begun renting out spaces at a community garden to quench this thirst for a connection to the earth. It brings me peace to dig my hands into the dirt, to plant, grow, pick, and eat the food grown by the elements and our own hands. As we pulled into Knutson Farms, we were immediately greeted by the grandest sunflower I had ever seen. A hay bale had been positioned with its ends sticking out, black dots were painted on it, and a cutout of sunflower petals lined its circumference. It was a car stopper. We parked and ventured into the farmhouse-style building to purchase our tickets. The entrance brought us into a space that was grand, clean, and would have brought peace to a minimalist. Pots that hosted cascading flowers sat next to each column that supported the roof. Sun diffused through the opaque roof. It looked like a space to rent out for parties or weddings, though I never verified this. We had been planning our wedding for the past year, and these were the types of spaces that we had toured. One of the ways that farms have started supplementing income is through agritourism. What is agritourism, you may ask? It is when a farm adds tourism to its income. Simple as that. This can be in the form of petting zoos, apple picking, Christmas tree harvesting, or sleeping overnight on the farm. This partnership between tourism and farming has provided communities with fun outings and informative ways to take a break from their phones, computers, and televisions. As we ventured farther into the barn-like structure, we discovered a trailer selling coffee. I perused the menu for a minute, ultimately deciding not to purchase anything. We were not sure where to go next. A young woman stood behind a podium. Behind her were children jumping on a jumping castle-like structure. Well, it was a jumping castle that lacked spires, walls, and slides, so it was only the jumping portion of the castle. Behind her read a sign for donuts. The donuts caught my eye immediately. I began inquiring how we might get to the donuts. Unfortunately, I was led to disappointment. To gain entrance to the fenced-off area of the rest of the barn-like structure, we would each have to pay $18. My brain raced to find some glimmer of hope. Maybe the donuts were all you could eat and part of the $18 ticket to enter the area, though this was not the case. The donuts had to be purchased after purchasing the ticket. I also came to find out that there was other food available, though it was out of reach without a ticket. Honestly, I was a bit disappointed at that moment, though thinking about it now, it makes sense. If I wanted to go to the state fair, I would have to purchase a ticket to get into the fairgrounds. That would not mean that all the rides and food would be free. We ultimately discovered that we could purchase a $5 ticket to walk amongst the sunflowers without picking any. It was a win. That was the main objective after all. I should mention that my fiancée loves to grow sunflowers. We already had a gorgeous, fresh-cut sunflower from her plot in the community garden. It was a sunshine yellow with streaks of rich brown radiating towards its black center. It was sitting on our kitchen island in a mason jar. Sunflowers seemed just ordinary to me. Maybe it is because I grew up in a world where they are commonplace. I can go to the store and purchase a range of products containing this crop. In the baking section, there is a sunflower oil for frying, which has high smoke point of 450 degrees. To put this into perspective, vegetable oil has a smoke point of about 400 degrees. In the snack food section, you can find bags of sunflower seeds, and if you need to fill your bird feeder, there are sunflower seeds in the bird seed section as well. These flowers can be purchased in their whole form as well, to show your appreciation for a loved one. When I hear the word sunflower, the first image that my mind conjures up is 6-foot-tall green fibrous stalks with thick heart-shaped leaves. The stalk ends in one large flower the size of a volleyball. Sunflowers have not always been this way, though. It turns out, like many other cultivated crops, sunflowers were smaller. They produced many flowers from one stem and smaller seeds. This beautiful flower originated from the Americas and was first cultivated by the Native Americans. It even predated corn as a cultivated crop for the Native Americans. Sunflowers in the United States of America had their heyday in the 1970s. During this time, 5 million acres of this lower cholesterol oil producing plant were harvested, not for the USA, but to be exported to the people of Europe. As of 2023, only 1.35 million acres were harvested. My fiancé and I each wore our sunflower yellow bracelets that were our ticket to entering the field. As we walked along the side of the field, our eyes darted from section to section. We wanted to find the perfect spot to take our photos. Even when in nature, our thoughts were still connected to the technological activities that we could perform once out of the field. Being and staying in the moment is difficult for me. One of the ways I attempt to achieve this is by setting a timer on my watch or phone for 5 minutes. I know it's using technology, but bear with me. During that time, my fiancé and I will stand or sit quietly observing the people and area around us. When the alarm sounds, we then regroup and share our observations and thoughts. The technological cable had its grip on us, and we did not participate in the 5-minute observation while in the field. The rows of sunflowers were neatly placed. Smaller, shorter sunflowers were positioned at the end of each row. We both observed this and talked about it, if they had just been planted or if they were a dwarf type of flower. Regardless, we found a swing that was about 15 or about 50 feet into the field, where we took turns swinging and took photos on our phones. Remember, I told you that technological cable had its grip on us. The beautiful blooms, buds, and leaves of the field were all around us. A green 1940s International harvester had been positioned with its front end directed at the swing. I took my camera out and took a shot. I wondered if it still ran. The windshield looked to be covered in mud from the inside. Rust had begun blanketing the roof and fenders. Whenever I look at a sunflower, it brightens my day. Walking through the rows of golden petals made me want to capture the sun. In a sense, I did capture the sun. The memory of experiencing a field of sunflowers for the first time will be with me for a long time. I will continue capturing the sun in future summers.